All right, everyone. I think we can go ahead and get started. And if anyone else shows up, they'll just have to play catch up as they trickle in. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to have to end the Menti, but thank you guys for your input. We'll explain that a little bit later on today and how that works. Um, so
Want me to
thank
kick
you
it
though
off?
for participating. Yeah.
It says here I have to introduce you guys.
Okay, so.
All right, good. All right, so first off, welcome everyone to today's presentation. Some of the room norms, please have your video on if possible. If not, please be available via audio for participation. If you're not speaking, please have your mute on to avoid any excess noise or feedback. The chat will be open for questions. So if you have any questions, just put anything there. If you need anything, just send me a personal message and I'll get back to you. Please be respectful of participants and the speaker. So with that, you guys are in luck. We have two dynamic, amazing presenters that I've known for over 10 years each. And I think you're in for a great show. So without further ado, Robert and Linda from the County Office of Education will introduce themselves a little bit more.
Thank you, Sal. Yeah, let's get started. My name is Robert Gozum, and I'm joined today by my colleague, the lovely Linda Ligaribai. We are both youth development assistants for the Friday Night Live program out of the San Diego County Office of Education. I'm going to go ahead and take some time and pass it to Linda. She's going to take us through our next few slides, starting with today's session objectives.
All right, thanks, Rob, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you all this morning. Today, we are going to be talking about youth-adult partnerships. So you will learn about what is a youth-adult partnership, how to create and foster an environment in which that exists, and interactive platforms that you can use to engage and elevate youth voice. Before we get started with the information, I would like for you all to fill out the pre-test portion of the checklist that you see on the slide. This checklist is in the form of a fillable PDF that you can download from the STEAMpower site under our session materials, but I also put it in the chat box earlier. However, if you don't have access to that, just feel free to grab a paper and pen and make notes about your choices. Your focus is on the yellow columns, where you will mark for each of the items listed if you do this often or you want to learn. For example, the first one I'm familiar with, resources about youth-adult partnerships. If you are, you will check I do this often. If you are not, you will check I am practicing or want to learn. Your responses are private. We will not have you share them, but the goal of this activity is to be honest. So I'll give you all about a minute or two to fill that out. Awesome. All right. Did everyone get a chance to fill out their checklist? Great. Okay, so thank you for filling out the checklist, and we will come back to this at the end of the session. All right, so the first thing I want to ask you all to participate in is answering this question right here. What are some common misconceptions you may hear about the capabilities of teenagers? And I'd like for you to go ahead and type it in the chat or mute yourselves to answer. But for example, one of the things that I've heard is that they're rebellious. So we're just listing off common misconceptions that we might have heard about capabilities of teenagers. So I'll give you a moment to type in the chat. Daisy says that they make bad decisions. This is also a misconception I've heard. Lauren said they are irresponsible. Daisy said they don't understand the problems between adults. Carlos said they think they can do everything by themselves. Belen says attitude. Yes, thank you all for sharing. I've heard these common misconceptions as well, which I always find is funny because our youth and other youth activists have shown us that teenagers and young adults have acute perceptions and immense capabilities, right? And so how can we tap into that energy, that passion and commitment that they have? How can programs promote your involvement in decision making? Um, this is where characteristics of both the program and adult leadership are important. And we're just going to read off some of the other ones that I see. They think everything is boring. They can't differentiate between good and bad. They're not aware of what is going on, like political events. Thank you all for giving those common misconceptions. I appreciate that. All right, so what is a youth adult partnership? There are 3 ways that youth can participate in a program. There are youth as recipients, which is an approach that focuses on youth receiving the services that adults have designed for them. There's youth as resources, which is youth help adults design and implement programs with adults still being in charge of the outcomes. And then there's youth as partners, an approach in which youth from partnerships with adults, with both youth and adults responsible for the design, implementation of the programs and the activities, as well as the outcomes that are achieved. And so today we're focusing on youth as partners. A youth adult partnership is when each party has the opportunity to make suggestions and decisions, and those suggestions are valued and recognized. It's when us as adults and young people can work together in full partnership towards a common goal. And sharing this power with youth means respecting and having confidence in their judgment to make those decisions. All right, so why are youth adult partnerships important? Well, youth adult partnerships arise from the idea that young people have the right to participate in the developing programs that serve them. And those who are actively involved in decision-making about programs and activities that benefit them are more likely to have positive developmental experiences. Advocates for these partnerships have said that youth programs are more effective when youth are part of the design, the development, and the implementation. Also, partnering with youth and respecting their ability to contribute provides protective factors for these youth. Some of these protective factors help youth resist stress and negative situations. For example, it increases social competence, which increases their responsiveness, flexibility, empathy, caring, communication, and the ability to have a sense of humor. Problem-solving skills, ability to think abstractively, to be flexible, to arrive at alternative solutions to social problems. Their sense of autonomy, which is their sense of identity and sense to act independently and to make critical decisions, and also raises their sense of purpose and future. So healthy expectations, goals, motivations, aspirations, and just being hopeful in general. So these research has also identified a key protective factor is their ability to feel like they have control over their environment and their decisions. And by contributing to one's community significantly increases that belief that they can make a difference and that people should be part of their community or advocate for it. So what is not a genuine youth adult partnership? Well, tokenism is not a partnership. Tokenism is the practice of recruiting someone, say a youth, to make it seem like you are making an effort to be inclusive with no intention of having that person actually be represented. Tokenism leads to youth feeling used instead of empowered. And to avoid this, you really have to share that power in making those decisions. Having young people around with no clear role is not a youth adult partnership. Assigning youth only the tasks that adults don't want to do is not a youth adult partnership. Youth media appearances without voice in developing the messages, programs, or policies that they're speaking about. Having a youth on a team and calling it youth involvement is also not a partnership. So oftentimes we think that just by having a young person present means that we're involving youth. But the question you must ask yourself is, was that young person actually allowed to contribute? And the purpose is not to trick people into thinking there's youth involvement when there isn't, right? All right.
The young
So right now, this video that we will Play Next features a youth program in Kenya where both young people and adults are equally involved and share power. So you're going to hear from both perspectives as to what a youth-adult partnership looks like and what it means. And as you watch this video, I'd like for you to type in the chat at least one thing you noticed or quote that may have stuck out at you. Feel free to jot down or type in the chat multiple things that stuck out, but like for everyone to write at least one. Here we go.
People really see the value of working together with adults, and adults really see the value of working together with young people.
First indicator for me will be young people having a voice or having a say in the decisions that the organization is making.
You need to have young people part and parcel of your programs and the activities that you do, and have them also take lead roles in some of them. And whenever you're having meetings or sessions that involve decision making, we should allow young people to give their views, critique what adults think, and also take in their thoughts in the decision-making process.
For us as an institution, we look at cross-movement building, because cross-movement building will then ensure that one, ageism, which sometimes comes within our spaces, is removed as we get to understand one another.
I think for me, a youth-adult partnership would be best and running smoothly when actually you don't really hear or see the difference anymore between young people and adults, when we are really working together as an equal team.
In a place where youth and adults are bound together with this kind of chemistry, you find the output is usually inclusive. The decisions, the voices, they're usually inclusive. It does not lean towards one side of the voice, whether it is youth alone or whether it is adults alone. The decisions they come as an output of inclusive voices.
In my experience, giving young people a voice is not only inviting young people to spaces, but enabling them to be able to express themselves without any stigma or discrimination, and also taking into account and respecting their views.
Not just to speak out, but their voice is heard and their voice is taken into consideration and action.
We always talk about meaningful youth participation, and the word meaningful really is crucial here. So young people need to know what the issue is about, they need to get the information in preparation for the meeting, and they also really need to be listened to. So not just being able to share something, but also getting feedback on like how their input is used, for example.
And we need clear responsibilities so that we can achieve the mandates that we have. Two, there is that need of power of decision making. We need to make decisions as a young person, and that adult to make a decision. So for us not to be felt like we're being used. And third is the trust. There's need to trust one another, and whatever we do, whatever it is. Thank you.
I think it's really important to have a safe space and trust between young people and adults. And one of the things that I think we can do more is to realize that youth-adult partnerships is a partnership between the young person and the adult, and it's both partners equally in that partnership. It's not the youth over the adult or the adult over the youth. And it's a process. It's not an overnight thing, and it's not a meeting that will say, okay, now we've had a meeting and there is more trust. So I think making sure that there is that realization of shared ownership and responsibility on the success of the relationship is very important.
So we must have intergenerational spaces, and the intergenerational spaces will then create a rich space for learning and knowledge building.
Something else that I feel like is very important is having a feedback mechanism, ensuring that young people and adults are able to have that open dialogue and discussion around what is working and what is not working around their partnership, and ensuring that where gaps are identified are addressed to strengthen their relationship.
My favorite quotes is from Nelson Mandela. You know, it always seems impossible until it's done, but successful youth-adult partnerships are possible.
Awesome. So lots of great things in the chat. So I'm just going to read out some of the things that were shared. Their opinions is taken into consideration and they have a voice, allowing them to express themselves without stigma. Trust is a process and takes time. Listen to them and giving feedback. Having a safe space for youth and adults. Lead roles, including the youth thoughts when making decisions. Working together as an equal team is made a priority. Building trust takes time and intentionality in creating equal partnership. Also, all great points of the video. And one thing that I want to point out is that this is a process that is not going to happen overnight. Sharing ownership is going to take time and commitment on both parts, the youth and adults, right? And one more, it says creating an environment where all voices are heard. Awesome. So rather than seeing youth as problems to be managed, we have to treat them like equals and with respect to show them that they're valuable resources and assets. The Search Institute has identified 40 developmental assets that young people need to succeed. Half of the assets focus on the relationships and opportunities they need in their families, schools, and communities. These are known as external assets. The remaining assets focus on the social, emotional strengths, values, and commitments that are nurtured within young people, and these are known as internal assets. So adults that work in partnership with youth must express care and take interest in and value youth talents and abilities. See youth as able and willing to contribute, provide support and empower them, and challenge their growth. Young people who have many assets are shown to be resilient and ultimately successful despite struggles in their school or family lives. And so I only listed some of the main assets, but you can find a list of the assets in the link that I'm going to post in the chat right now. That will take you to the 40 developmental assets. You don't need to look at that right now, but that's just if you want to access it later on after this session. Awesome. So like Robin, I mentioned earlier, we work for a program called Friday Night Live, a program that builds partnerships and positive and healthy youth development, which engage youth as active leaders and resources in their community. We have programming for a high school, middle school, 4th through 6th grade, and a cross-age mentoring program between high school and middle school students. We promote youth involvement throughout the program in a variety of ways. We have the ABC Youth Council, also known as Activists for a Better Community, a group of San Diego youth that work to create positive change in the community. But all of our events are also youth-led, from town halls to prevention campaigns. Even our meetings are facilitated by youth. And in our program, we see youth as valuable resources we can learn from in order to effectively elevate youth voices and create positive community change. And so our program works in schools and in partnership with community organizations. So if you're interested in implementing youth development in your program or just learning more, Rob and I will share contact info at the end of this session. You can also reach out to us via our website, www.sdfnl.net, which is also on the slide. This year, we have been posting all of our, hosting all of our meetings online and all of our free events virtually as well. I want to share with you 2 specific activities, tried and tested, that if you were to bring youth and adults together are applicable in fostering a dialogue to advance effective youth-adult partnership. The first one is called Teachable Moments, where one youth and adult partner up and teach each other something new, something new to one another. It can be a new dance move, recipe, a new unique handshake, whatever you want. The only stipulation is that the other person does not have any knowledge of this activity. Debrief it by going around the room and sharing what everyone learned, and really talking about the power of being able to respect that adults and young people can learn from one another. Often when a young person comes into the room, there's this sense of authority or expectation that the teachers are there to teach and the youth are there to learn. And this exercise really challenges us to think that youth have an immense amount of to teach adults in the same way that adults from their experiences teach young people. The second activity is Lego leadership. This can be done in pairs or groups of 4, but you will split the group in half. Give one half a Lego building model and give the other half the exact same Lego pieces needed to build that building. Those who are building cannot see the Lego model that the others are using to give directions, and those giving directions cannot touch the Lego pieces. Then you're going to have them switch roles so that each person can experience building and facilitating. This exercise debrief is really good in terms of discussing leadership versus followership. What does it take for a leader to be effective in their engagement? What does it take for someone to be able to follow a leader effectively? And how do we put ourselves in the shoes of others? Are there any questions so far about what youth-adult partnerships are or about the activities that we went over? Awesome. Then next, Rob will be sharing virtual platforms you can use to collaborate with your youth.
Thank you, Linda. All right, everyone. So in the video that we watched and throughout Linda's portion of the presentation, we talked about a few things: giving youth a voice, allowing them to express themselves, a safe space, intergenerational spaces, and then some things that have a feedback mechanism. So what I'm going to showcase today are virtual platforms where we hope to achieve those goals. And so the first one I want to share with you all is called Jamboard. By show of hands, have any of you guys been exposed or used Jamboard at all yet? Yeah, okay, good. I see some hands up. So it would be a little review. Maybe you guys can teach me some things I haven't learned myself yet. But Jamboard is great because it's basically a virtual whiteboard where it allows collaboration. All you have to do is share the link with everyone, and everybody can log in real time and manipulate the whiteboard all at once. And so if you guys haven't seen it before, if you notice on screen here, there's on the left side, there's a toolbar that has a bunch of different things that you can utilize, like a pen, paintbrush, highlighter to kind of mark up this shared space. And so this allows students to already start giving feedback and kind of like having their voice heard using these different tools. There's also, of course, an eraser to erase these things. We like using Post-its. If you just want to post a quick note on there, you can save it and move it around on the board in real time, and everyone can see it and participate. They've also added things like a Google search image. So sometimes one of the last things I searched for obviously was the Eiffel Tower. But when you're speaking with the youth and you want them to express themselves, sometimes they don't want to do it, via writing or like a doodle. And so what you can do is have this available. So they, I mean, something that's really popular is for them to post like a meme or celebrity or something like that to achieve that same feeling or vibe. And so that aspect allows them to do so. Besides just using Google image search, they can also upload images from their own devices. If they want to take a picture in real time, this is also a space for them to do that. They also have shapes. If you have some students that are really creative and they want to create, some like mathematical formula or something like that, this allows them to do so, as well as a simple just text box. Where you can throw it in, and of course you can always manipulate these things with different colors. Again, move them around to kind of dress up the space. It's ideal for the time that we're in because it allows you to still engage the youth and be interactive while still keeping with social distancing and things of that nature. The only caveat is that it's used through Google Suite, so you will need to have a Google account, which is good because it's free. I will say that one note is that if you're using it with your company's website, or sorry, your company email, it might not give you the same functions. So you might need to just create your own personal Gmail account, which again is free and allows you to do so. The other thing is that there's a limit to 20 panels. So I have just one panel here to kind of showcase all the different functions. The second panel I created is just an example of how we use Jamboard in doing activities and icebreakers. So if you guys have ever played the game Two Truths and a Lie, you're able to do so visually now using Jamboard. And so you can write things on Post-its or post images to kind of give, to showcase what your two truths and a lie would be. Jamboard is also great for brainstorming. So if you want to brainstorm with your youth and adults, it allows a space for them to do that. If you want to create a vision board, it's also good for that. FNL, personally, we use it a lot in our activities and icebreakers. Are there any questions about Jamboard or how Jamboard works? The cost of Jamboard? Again, it's free as long as you guys have a Gmail account. So that's Jamboard. That's one of the our most used utilities or tools that we use for Friday Night Live. The next thing we had exposure to right at the top of the hour, if you guys got in a little bit beforehand or right at 11, I've posed a question to everyone, and what we use is that interactive presentation software called Mentimeter. And this is actually from a Swedish company, and it allows you, it kind of fulfills that need for a feedback mechanism. So how many of you guys have been through a PowerPoint presentation and you guys can have seen, it's common in youth and adults. You just see the kind of glaze come over everyone's eyes, especially if it's like after lunch. So this kind of takes that same thing of a PowerPoint presentation, but allows some interactivity. So you guys know, like at the very beginning, I had you guys log in on a device and you guys were able to participate. If you guys still have your devices up, we can go through this part of the session together. And it's, again, if you're logged out, you're just going to go to menti.com and then plug in that code. And what it allows you to do is to kind of follow along on this next part of the presentation. And so if you notice, I see some already giving me some hearts and stuff. On the very bottom of each panel on your devices, it'll show like a heart or a question mark. And so if you're presenting to students or to adults, just any kind of presentation, it allows them to kind of give you feedback in real time. So if they like what you're saying, they'll throw a heart. If somebody has a question, they can hit that little heart emoji or a thumbs up if they like what you're saying. You also have the option for a thumbs down. I didn't put that in this part of the portion because I didn't want to do that to myself, but I'm hoping you guys are enjoying it somewhat. A Mentimeter is great because, I mean, you can add things in like personal quote slides. This is a personal quote from myself. It says, "I enjoy using Mentimeter because it's interactive, engaging, and can be used to foster group discussion." And that's my quote. You guys can literally quote me on that. So some other things that you can do with the slides there are you can have heading slides, bullets, add in a whole paragraph if you want to do that to your adults or youth. Images, and then just huge slides that show off, data or a big quote or something like that. The thing that I really like about Mentimeter are the popular question type slides. So throughout your presentation, you can have these interactive questions where you can pose to the students, and they have them set up different ways. So you can do a multiple choice question. At the very beginning, we did a word cloud. So I asked everyone what new TV show or movie they've seen. And then in real time, you got to see everyone's answers. So that's what that one looked like. There's also open-ended questions. You can use scales if you want to ask the students how they feel about something and you don't want a yes or no kind of answer. You kind of want to, like, on a scale of 1 to 5. They can also rank things, as well as at the very end of a presentation, if you want to host a Q&A, they'll come up in little bubbles. And again, it's just more interactive, more engaging for the students. So the next thing I want you guys to do is we'll take a really quick poll here. If you guys are still on menti.com, I'm just curious for you guys, what is the best snack food? I see Oreo has taken an early lead. I have faith in the carrot sticks though, so I think they might advance. Sun chips, no love for sun chips, I guess. Nobody really likes the harvest cheddar. Okay. All right. And so again, that's just another example in real time of getting your students involved, and they can see things on screen, and it, kind of brings them out of that feeling of, oh, this is just another PowerPoint presentation. So in case you guys are wondering, Oreos is the clear best snack food. So the good thing about Mentimeter is, in case you want to explore it further and you're curious about how they do things, they are very nice people. I've been on one of their webinars already. And the only bad thing is that they're on Swedish time. And so for us, that would be 8 a.m. So it's a little bit early in the morning, but the good news is, and I'll drop the link in here, I would recommend that you guys register if you're interested, because even if you can't make it, if you miss it for whatever reason, if they have your email address, they'll actually send you a copy of that video or of that recording for that day. So if it's way too early for you, like it is for a lot of us, you can still track that that recording for that day. But they do a really great job of taking you through all the different tools and things that you can use with Mentimeter. They do have a paid option. I haven't paid for it myself. I've just been using the free trial that they allow here. And that allows you, I believe it's up to 10 or 20 PowerPoint slides with 2 of those fun questions with like the word cloud or the snack multiple choice one that we had there. So there are a lot of options. If you do want a paid membership, they do have different price breakdowns for those things. All right, and that's the end of Mentimeter. Do you guys have any questions for Mentimeter right off the bat? No? Okay, again, I dropped the link in there. Please feel free to register. Their next webinar is actually tomorrow morning on the 17th, and it's at 8 a.m. If you can't make it, just still register your email and they'll send you a recording to kind of walk you through how to use it. The last virtual platform that I want to discuss today is called Padlet. And Padlet is great because it allows you to do quite a bit of different things. It's similar to Jamboard in that you can add things and collaborate in real time. I just feel like Padlet itself allows you to share even more things. So some ideas, some things that you can use it for, if you want to watch and share videos with your group, you can post it here and everybody can click it and watch it and kind of give you feedback. You're also able to brainstorm, get feedback on a presentation or something like that. If you want to pose a question to the group, you can. You can use it as a notice board to kind of get notices out to the team in a fun way, plan events, bookmark your favorite sites, and also keep notes. And I want to just take you guys really quickly through one I put together in just a few minutes. This is an example of a Padlet. And so if you wanted to add something new to this, you're just going to double click anywhere on here. And it's going to ask you if you wanted to post a post-it kind of thing. You leave your title in there and you can write something like, "This is fun." And if that's if you want to just have like a post-it kind of thing. You also have the option to upload things like videos or images. If you want to link to a website, you're able to do so. On the left here, I linked to our San Diego County Friday Night Live website. And it has it there and it's clickable for everybody in real time. If you were to click it, you can see it turns from a cursor to a hand. So it's a live link for you to click. You can also pose a question. So I posted an image again of the Eiffel Tower and I was asking if anybody's been there and if you'd like to share a story, and then someone else can link, a blog or link, a Google document or something explaining how they got to that story. And then the last thing was that if you're trying to do something like plan a big event, like the STEAMpower Conference, you can pose it to the group and ask like, how can we collaborate? And then everybody can give you feedback. And these are all like able to move in real time. And again, it's just that interactive new feedback mechanism that I think students and adults kind of help break up the monotony and gets everybody interacting with. Does anyone have a question about Padlet or how Padlet works? No? Okay, good. So yeah, those are pretty much all of the platforms that we brought to showcase today. Again, these are just great virtual tools to help you guys engage your youth and engage with youth adult partnerships. I'm going to turn it back over to Linda.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. We at FNL really lean on all three of those platforms. So finally, closing takeaway for today is that youth are vital community members, and today we're more aware of the important steps needed to bring young people into the wider community. And when youth are involved and engaged in their communities, they are more likely to experience a myriad of developmental benefits. And earlier I had y'all fill out the form because I wanted for you to see the skills that you feel need work on when it comes to your partnership with youth, and think about how you want to better those this year. I know that I am always actively working on my abilities to be a better youth partner. And so sharing the power to make decisions. If youth have no power to make those decisions, then they will not feel valid, and their participation is not one of the partnership. And these roles are meant to be authentic and meaningful. Ensure that everyone knows their role and what they're serving going into this school year. And you guys are all inspiration leaders, my way of saying inspired active leaders. So utilize these virtual platforms to connect, create, and collaborate with your youth. Meet them where they are at. They have much to share and teach us. So lean on Jamboard, Mentimeter, Padlet to tap into that creativity. And commit to your youth's outcome, not just see it as a job you have to do. Just extending the invitation to have youth at the table empowers them and lets them know that their opinions matter. And as adults, we can listen to young people and just move on. But if we listen to young people and really engage their voices, so listening to those opinions and creating the action steps together to make the action happen is such an important link that needs to be in place in order to have an effective partnership. So I want to thank you all for coming to our session. Rob is going to put our emails in the chat for you in case you'd like to reach out to us, learn more, or establish a Friday Night Live program. Thank you all for your time and for giving us this space to share with you.